Good evening. I am going to be doing my safety video, redoing my safety video to make sure I hit all the required topics and points. Sorry in advance, I'm a little sick. So 2 years ago when I did my foundation year a placement, one of the safety concerns that I had was I was working in downtown Riverside in more of like a metropolitan area, and I was staying at the office until 7:30 at night because my group was from 6 to 7. We had an underground parking structure and it wasn't very well lit, and it wasn't gated either. So we had concerns about homeless population who are looking for shelter at nighttime, and there's really not that many staff on grounds after like 5 o'clock. So there was probably only like a handful of us, and most of the staff there were ladies. So one of the policies that was put into place was if you're going to walk outside, you need to take somebody with you. We need a buddy system, which in theory was great and didn't always happen because one of the ladies was older, and so she'd offered to go down, but she was also busy at night because she had things she had to do. So that was one of my concerns 2 years ago. This year, I don't have any concerns with that because I leave the office around 6:30, but I am in more of a suburb area, and it's more of a smaller town, so we don't have the same homeless population. We don't have an underground parking structure. It's a really like a parking lot that's well lit. So I don't have the underground, I don't have to do the buddy system, and because we're residential staff, there's always staff present because the kids live there. So that's one of the things I don't have to worry about here. One of the things that I have been concerned about is really looking at what the implementation for some of the policies are. So we have an earthquake policy because we're in California, and earthquakes are something to be concerned about. We have an earthquake policy, but since I've been here and I've been working at the organization for about 4.5 years, we've never done an earthquake drill. So we're actually going to have an earthquake drill tomorrow to implement that and kind of practice with the kids and see what that looks like and the logistics of it. I mentioned a couple weeks ago that we have an active shooter policy, and again, that hasn't been practiced, so that's a little bit concerning, especially since we had a shooting about, I want to say, like last year in a nearby county, and so we haven't practiced that policy, so that's concerning. Another one of my concerns, we did at a training a couple months ago, we did talk about seizure protocols, but really looking at what other medical conditions could we have more training on and be more informed on. As California has changing their standards for group homes, which I talked about a couple weeks ago as well. A lot of group homes are shutting down because they need to be a short-term residential treatment center. My placement is actually a short-term residential treatment center. They got their licensing for that. So as the other group homes are shutting down, that means that we're going to get an increase of kids. With an increase of kids means an increase of a variety of behaviors, an increase in a variety of medical conditions. So just being more aware of what that could be and how to protect the children and protect ourselves. This last week we have an intake for a child who passes out. He sporadically passes out, and he's not unconscious, but he's non-responsive for like 30 minutes. So that's concerning. What does that look like? How do we prepare ourselves for that? What do we do in a situation like that? They ended up sending him off for medical evaluation, and so that's where he's at in the process right now. But for the rest of the staff, that'd be helpful to be informed on what that looks like. Let's see. A couple weeks ago, I also talked about missing children reporting. which is also an increased concern. Again, like I said, because a lot of the group homes are shutting down, we're getting an increase of kids, and with an increase of kids means a variety of behaviors. There's going to be more kids on the dorm, which means there's potential for more kids running away, and we're kind of seeing a pattern of more kids running away right now. So really implementing and practicing the policy for that, and being aware of when kids are missing, how long are they missing, where are they going. For the therapists, they serve as case managers and therapists, so they're required to say whether or not a child's allowed to go home on a therapeutic pass, and that could be for a day, that could be for a weekend. Being mindful of how long those passes are and what are the consequences if a child does not come back in the guidelines. We recently had a case where a child went home on a day pass and he didn't come home for 2 weeks. Well, he ran out of medication 3 days into being home. And so what does that look like? So again, these are things I kind of have to discuss in supervision to get a better answer for. But what if other people had questions, other interns had questions, other therapists had questions? It'd be something to think about. And I think that's all I have. Have a great night, everybody.